Today we're going to look at transposition, that's the rearranging of formula. We rearrange formula to make the stated variable the subject. You follow the same rules as solving equations for an unknown pronumeral. That is, if we change the side, we change the sign, and if we multiply or divide, we have to do it to every term. In these problems, we often need to use substitution and then calculate the value of this variable, and they give us the value of all the other variables. The best way to get used to this is by a series of examples. These are drawn from your exercise 1.7. So here's a typical question. A equals s squared, make s the subject. Now the first thing we've got to do is undo the square. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. When we take the square root of a number, there is a positive and a negative answer. That's because, if you recall, the square root of 9 is equal to 3, because 3 times 3 equals 9. In year 8 you learned about negative numbers. So if you think about it, negative 3 times negative 3 is also equal to positive 9. So technically, the square root of 9 equals positive or negative 3. The shortcut way of writing this is with the plus minus symbol on top of each other. It really means there are two answers, positive root A and negative root A. Now this particular step you can leave out after you understand it. The square root of s squared is equal to s. So you don't have to write this step in once you understand it. We can go straight to this step here. Alright, we can flip it round. We usually write the unknown, or the thing we're trying to find, on the left hand side. So s is equal to positive or negative the square root of a. Now we're being told that if a is 27, find the value of s. This is where we substitute a in the rule for 27. So s is equal to plus or minus the square root of 27. Now this square root of 27 is a surd, and we can simplify surds. We can simplify a surd by thinking of the biggest perfect square that goes into it exactly with no remainder. Now the biggest perfect square that goes into 27 is 9. So I can rewrite 27 as 9 times 3. Now if I have the square root of a product, I can separate them into their own square roots. And of course the square root of 9 is 3. So the exact answer for s is plus or minus 3 root 3. And that is the simplified surd. So in your CAS calculator, if you type in root 27, it will, and you press enter, you will be shown the answer 3 root 3. If we instead convert this to a decimal, our answer will only be an approximation, because surds are irrational numbers. An irrational number cannot be written as a fraction. That means that if we try and write them as a decimal, it produces an infinite, non-recurring decimal, a little bit like pi. So putting it into our calculator and rounding it off to 2 decimal places, which is what this means, the answer for s is positive or negative 5.20. Remember, that's 2 answers for s. A positive 5.20 and a negative 5.20. This is known as a rational approximation because we've rounded it off, and 5.20 can be written as a fraction. Because we're not told the application of the formula, we have to include the positive or negative part. Sometimes we do know the application of the formula. In this case, it is probably the area of a square, where A stands for the area of the square and S stands for the side length of the square. If that was the case, if we knew that for sure, then we would reject the negative answer, because a negative answer would have no physical meaning to the problem. Here we're not told what the application is, so mathematically we have to leave both possibilities in our solution.